Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of With All Due Respect. We are your hosts. I'm Ryan Shead. That's Marcus Flowers. Brother, how are you doing?
I'm still trying to figure that out this week.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
we had Groundhog's Day, and apparently we're headed for 6 more weeks of Donald Trump's, winter.
yeah,
Uh, it just feels like negative all around right now. Like, I'm trying to
yeah,
find some positivity. So that's why I was looking forward to today's show because I think the work we're doing here now is very positive, and I enjoy bringing people on because, unlike some other political shows and commentary shows, they bring people on, they're looking for that gotcha moment that's going to create some heat or clicks, and that's just not what we're here to do.
not
So
what we do here.
I had a wonderful conversation with our next guest the other day, which is why I'm so excited to bring her on so that you can meet her as well as, the country. But here in Arizona, we're having a lot of battles we have to fight. And one of the biggest ones we have is in our education department. I'll let Dr. Terry Ruiz tell you more about where we stand in education here in Arizona and what her plans are. But Tom Horn, our current superintendent, is more concerned with things like critical race theory and gender in bathrooms than he is about protecting our actual children and the future of our state. And that's why it's my honor to introduce you guys to Dr. Terry Ruiz, who is here to help kids like mine hopefully get a better education. So thank you for joining us, Doc. Appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. It's wonderful to talk with you again. And Marcus, always thank you to having me on. It's great to meet you. We can talk, I could talk all day about my favorite topic, which is our students, which is public education. A lot of things happening in Arizona. We are in the national news, of course,
Yep.
not only because we happen to be ranked, darn near the bottom in
Yeah.
public funding. We're 49th in the nation in per pupil funding. We're at the bottom of academic progress and success. We have, our teachers are not paid what they should be paid. We're not compensating
Nope.
our educators. And we have schools closing. This is most devastating. We have public schools across Arizona closing all over the place in wealthy districts and in districts, with high poverty.
Yep.
It knows no boundaries. Schools are closing because the current superintendent, Tom Horn, is all about privatizing public education. And the
Yes.
Republican led legislature has, they're part of this issue as well. They want to privatize, they want to um, diminish public
Yeah.
education. It's going to
It's
affect,
like they want to pass the responsibility off. They just don't want to even be responsible for it anymore.
right.
And I'm glad you said that because I think it's important to remind our listeners that why we do have some amazing Democrats in office right now in Arizona with Chris Mays and Katie Hobbs and Mark Kelly and there's others. The
Go.
Our legislation is still controlled by Republicans.
Mhm.
So even though we have these great Democrats in these positions, we still need to get control at the state level, which is again why we do this show, because it's not just about the marquee elections; it's about these elections as well. Because the future of our state literally depends on the education of its occupants, of its citizens.
Mhm.
And what I love too is that you are a proud third generation Arizona. So you're not like me, who just came here because my wife grew up here. But you're also a first generation college student with degrees from Arizona State University and Northern Arizona University, which led to a career teaching math in public schools at the middle school, high school, and college levels.
That's right.
After a 30-plus year career as a teacher, you are the proud mother of two daughters that are enrolled in Arizona public universities. And they're now representing the second generation of college students in your family. But I also wanted to mention the dude behind you, which is Bobby Ruiz, who is also a retired chief of the Peoria Fire and Medical Department. So, please pass along our thanks for his service. And yeah, I'm really excited for people to get to meet you. I told you in our meeting that I still talk to my third grade teacher, who was my third and fourth grade teacher. Shout out to Miss Bolio. And that's why I know these relationships that you build and have built over this career
Mhm.
is what's going to serve you and us I think, much better than a lawyer who clearly has an agenda that has nothing to do with the children in Arizona.
Right, absolutely. And it's not just Tom Horn, who's the attorney, who is a career politician, former superintendent in the early 2000s and former attorney general, but also he's being primaried by Kimberly Yee, who is the current state treasurer. Again, a career politician, educational policy, but never have either of these two individuals been in the classroom. They are not
Yeah.
educators, and you know,
You know,
So, no, let
Yeah,
me
go,
jump in
please.
real quick. And I love that you said that. And just to give you a little background on me, I come from a family of educators. My father, before he passed, taught 36 years
Wow.
in middle school and high school. My sister, she went into teaching. Now she's a principal at a school system in our district.
That's awesome.
Here, it used to be Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, but
Not anymore.
now that she's gone, we're trying to get a good Democrat in there.
Yeah.
But
Check out our
educators,
show with Sean Harris.
with Sean Harris, educators have a very special place in my heart. Coming from a family of educators, and I'd hear my dad talk about teaching back when versus around the time he retired. He tried to get my sister not to go into teaching, but she followed him anyway. There's no problem for me. I was always going into the military. That was my thing. So, but can you tell us, Dr. Ruiz, and you've been in the classroom, you've done it all. Well, you're about to be a superintendent. So tell us how things have changed for better or for worse or both even over your last 30 plus years of being an educator and seeing how the system's changed now that we have a Department of Education that's being very badly diminished by this administration.
Great question.
That is a great question. I think back to my first year teaching. I was teaching 7th grade math at the school that I graduated from in South Phoenix. And compared to a class I recently taught a year ago at the community college, also in South Phoenix, the needs of the students haven't changed. Students still need to feel valued and heard and respected and challenged. I will always have high expectations, but I'm going to help you get there. That need hasn't changed. What has changed, of course, is curriculum has shifted some. Kind of the pendulum has swung in math, but also technology. The use of technology and how do we as educators prepare ourselves so that we can prepare our students for this rapidly changing technology environment. So I was the president at Glendale Community College during the COVID pandemic. Oh man, for all of our educators out there, thank you for going through that journey with us.
Help my family for sure.
Ooh, it was a tough time. Not only were we afraid, we didn't know what was happening, this whole dynamic of fear around the medical crisis, but then how do we keep moving forward? How do we prepare? And we weren't ready. Schools and colleges and universities weren't ready for this.
The country was ready. Yeah.
Nobody was ready, right?
Parents weren't ready.
No one was ready.
Yeah, for sure.
And this need to turn on a dime to help students keep moving forward in this time where we didn't know what was happening. But the technology uses then really taught us how can we use this technology to make our classroom stronger and better? How do we bounce forward and not bounce back? Because we learned so much coming out of that pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I see as the biggest shift. Like the needs of our students, yes, there's a lot of generational trauma that we're seeing. A lot of our students are so resilient, but they need our help and support.
Yeah.
The needs of students haven't shifted. The environment, the modalities of how we are teaching has. And I'm going to come back and talk again about that, just artificial intelligence in general. Rapid, right? It's changing everything.
They're teaching it in my daughter's class. My daughter's in 6th grade.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And hats off to the educators for doing that, because it's still and it's not, there's not a systemic answer or approach to
It's in
use
its
it.
infancy still. Yeah.
In many ways, yes,
Yeah.
and yet we hear outside in industry how it's being used so often, and the generative AI, and
Mhm.
faculty at the college level particularly complaining that, well, students are going to cheat. Well, then there's an opportunity for us to maybe shift,
Yeah.
how we teach, what we teach, how we assess, what we assess, and these are wonderful conversations that need to happen.
Yeah.
I like the part about assessing,
Mhm,
because my son, he does pretty decent in the testing for the state,
mhm,
but my daughter struggles much like I did.
mhm,
She's just not a test taker. She literally gets anxiety about it, but she
mhm.
gets straight A's in school.
Yeah.
So if you look at her standardized testing,
Yeah.
you might think she can't read, but she's got straight A's. Like she's fine. Like I know she's fine. I know she's learning and doing these things. But I wanted to ask a two-part question, but also acknowledge, like you said, I hear other parents talk about, oh, I don't let my kid watch their iPad. I don't let them, mess with the computer very much. I don't let them play video games. And I'm like, I feel like parents that think that, and this is just my opinion, please, so take it for what it is. But I feel like they're not preparing their children for the world that they're going to live in.
Mm,
Like some of us, we want to protect our children, and we kind of want to project what we believe is a childhood,
mhm.
but it was our childhood. It was a different time. It was the 80s and 90s, So it's like, what do we do to make sure in the classroom setting that we are preparing our children not for the world that we want them to live in,
Right.
but for the world that we know they're going to be living in?
And that's such a great question, Ryan, because we don't know what that world is going to look like. Like, we can project, and the AI is going to shift things, but there are so many new careers that exist today that didn't exist 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
This idea of how do we prepare our students for this rapidly changing environment, really it comes down to how can we be responsible and ethical in the implementation of this technology. How
Yes.
do we make sure that we are preparing not only our educators for this shifting, and how we teach and what we teach, but also how are we preparing our students for these future jobs that we don't even know what they will be.
Yeah.
But thinking of things like critical thinking and curiosity and the ability to,
Those are universal.
right,
Yeah.
Civics,
really.
maybe.
Well,
Civics, maybe.
Don't jump ahead. Don't jump
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
yes. And
No, like I said, I love that. So here's the two-part question I had, because you talked about COVID and the fear that teachers experienced. And when I hear that, I also think about things like active shooter drills,
yeah.
which, I spoke to you about, the reason that we keep our children home for virtual school. They still have class and all that stuff, and classmates and teachers. It's just we keep them home. And there's several reasons for it. And that was one of them. Was I remember tornado drills and things like that, and running into the
Yeah.
bathrooms, and even that was a little, I don't want to say traumatizing, but it's like, okay, this is what we do. So it's like an active shooter drill. You're telling these children, go hide somewhere so you don't get shot, not for a natural disaster.
Yeah.
Those are two, fire drills and tornado drills. Those are kind of like natural disaster things. But when you're saying you need to go hide from somebody that might come in the school and hurt you,
Mhm.
that's a different level of anxiety. And we've heard about a response to this should be teachers arming themselves
Oh,
in the classrooms.
yeah.
So my question for you, knowing all of that context,
Yeah.
is, do you see anywhere legislatively, or even at the school level, where we can attempt to tackle that problem? And when I say tackle it, I mean put things in place that don't make the children feel like they're walking into a jail every day, but also accomplish the goal of keeping them safe.
Right. So
Uh-oh. Oh, there you go.
this Yeah, spotty internet. I don't know. The wind. Um,
Yeah,
this
it's
is a
windy.
real
It's really windy here.
this is a concern across the nation, right? And here in
Yeah.
Arizona, so we have 15 counties. I was down in the one of our southern counties that borders with Mexico, Cochise County,
Yep.
and I was talking with the county superintendent, Dr. Jackie Clay, and she talked a lot about how they do these drills, but they do it in a way that's also empowering for the students, where the students all kind of have a role, whether it's a team is blocking the
Block the
doors,
door.
other
Okay.
moving things. But she also shared this partnership with the local law enforcement agencies, in that every classroom has an emergency button that also has a video, a camera. So if there's an emergency, they can hit the button.
And it gives law enforcement a feed
Yes, and then the law enforcement has the maps, so they'll know exactly where the situation
where
is.
That is brilliant.
Yes, I
that would
was,
have come in handy in Uvalde.
Oh yeah, that is
you know,
brilliant.
yeah,
Gives them the window into what's going on inside. So that is
Yeah,
Mhm.
inside the classroom. Yeah,
Inside the
because what we saw at Uvalde, it wasn't enough just to have the cameras in the hallways.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't see what was going on in there, and that's what, in my opinion, again, that's what kept them outside of the classroom as long as they waited, because they didn't have a way to really see what was going on. So
bird's eye
I
view.
like that. I honestly hadn't heard of that, and yeah, I don't
My
hate
first
that.
time hearing of it too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I
hate
was
that.
so impressed. And even when I was the president at Glendale Community College in the city of Glendale, we talked with the police department about making sure they have maps to the campus and where the classrooms are located, because
Like a blueprint.
yeah, like a blueprint. And so
Yeah.
the classrooms don't always go in order, right?
Yeah.
So knowing where things are, and I think the more we can strengthen those relationships, our schools and our law enforcement agencies, I think that's the real issue. But you also mentioned gun control, or arming our teachers. Well, 100%, no, we're not gonna. I don't believe in arming our teachers. Coming back to Arizona and knowing that we've been under a Republican-led legislature for probably 50 years.
Yeah.
And this unwilling to change any gun laws, not only here in Arizona, but across our nation, right? This unwillingness to change some gun laws so that we can have some common sense gun laws in place.
Yeah.
Do we need to pivot, and do we need to have, what's the conversation between counselors or, social,
Better mental health resources.
right? Absolutely better mental health
Yeah.
resources, counselors versus a school safety resource officer.
Did Tom Horn remove some of those resources?
No, actually, he was able to get more money
Oh, okay.
to put, and schools had to put in a request.
To
Do
get
you
the
want,
money.
well, yeah, and do you want an SRO or do you want a counselor? And what we found is, when we look back at that data, schools that wanted an officer, they got the funding, versus very few schools who asked for, yes, Ryan, who asked for a counselor.
Well, that's the same thing.
It came out of the same pot, but he was much more interested in putting a police officer on campus than putting a counselor on campus. Now,
Well, that's what I mean. To me, that's the same as removing mental health. Like, that's the same thing to me.
yes,
You're not, instead of, if you said you want a counselor, we're going to give you, pennies on the dollar. But if you said you want law enforcement, we'll fund you as much as you want. That's insane.
It is insane. And that's his own personal ideology on full display there. Versus what are the schools asking for? If the schools are asking for
supplies,
this, let's get them that.
Yeah. And that's the I don't know if this talking point really works anymore, because it's coming out that all these ICE agents aren't getting their $50,000 bonuses. Told you. But what became clear to me is that if we really wanted to, we could make room in the budget to pay our teachers better, to provide better resources like mental health care. I had counselors back in school, and they were helpful. They were helpful. So it's insane to me that they are willing to arm teachers, send in practically the National Guard, but not provide any kind of resources to the teachers. I don't understand it. Now, I like that idea you said, because it wouldn't put an armed guard necessarily in the school. but it should get them to respond at least within 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And they'll have a feed into the classroom. So to me, that's like, okay, like I find that acceptable. And to me, if you have a school that is doing that, I would hope you have at least a division monitoring specifically, all the schools for any kind of alerts. So I can get behind that,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
can't get behind introducing more guns into schools to think that that's going to help. From my standpoint, that's not going to help. What's your opinion on it?
Oh, there's research that supports your opinion. So you're right on with a lot of the researchers that, it's, again, every district, every school knows what they need. And I think we
Yeah.
need to honor that. And I will make sure, I'm going to honor the school's request or the district's request. The answer isn't certainly not arm the teachers. The answer isn't just always have an armed officer. We have to remember our students are coming to us with a lot of their own generational trauma.
Mhm.
And we want to build positive relationships. We want to make sure students
Yeah.
always feel safe and secure. A school is supposed to be a place of learning. You're supposed to feel safe and secure there so you can learn. And, again, every school is so different. We've traveled all around the state to all 15 counties and have been so privileged to visit large schools and small schools. Every school is so unique.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we honor. We don't just say blanket, this is what you get or you don't get anything. Schools know better.
Blanket
The
policies
teachers
don't
know
work.
best. Mhm. It's absurd that, talking about the money, there is plenty of money because here in Arizona, the Empowerment Scholarship Account vouchers, and we can talk about the vouchers,
Yep.
is now costing Arizona $1 billion a year. $1 billion of hard-earned taxpayer dollars going to, we don't really know what, to private schools, micro schools, homeschools, a lot. And we don't have a real understanding of it because they're holding the data. But if there's $1 billion to spend on this with no caps, this is just free reign, then certainly there's money to strengthen our public schools,
Yeah.
to pay our teachers better, so that we're not losing. We are losing so many educators every single year. Just last year, from July to the start of the school year, we lost 1,000 educators.
That's insane.
We have
Out of the state or just out of the system?
out of
Our state.
out of the state. We lost 8,600 educators in the whole 24-25 school year.
Whoa.
So, I mean, we have roughly 4,000 vacancies right now in
Wow.
our public schools.
Did you say 4,000?
Yes, sir.
Whew.
4,000.
Wow.
That means that, classrooms are being staffed by a teacher is teaching a class during their prep time, or a long-term sub, or a revolving door of substitutes. And I'm thankful and grateful to the adult who wants to step into this and to this classroom.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't have to rely on, long-term subs or substitutes. A willing adult. We should have the best, highly certified,
Educators.
highly educated, educators. Every student across Arizona deserves that.
Yeah.
And yet there's $1 billion to spend somewhere else.
And
Yeah,
The
you know
money
what?
is
I remember
Well,
coming out of the military, and there was like a huge demand for teachers as well. They were given incentives for guys like myself coming out of the military, come and teach. And I'm like, well, don't know if I'd be a great teacher or wanted to teach, but coming from a family of educators, I knew what they'd gone through.
It requires, yeah.
It requires a lot. I saw that, throughout my life. But I did want to ask you this, Dr. Ruiz. Now, my father taught shop for 35 years,
Ooh.
or 36 years. I keep saying 35, 36 years. And when he retired from teaching, he opened up its own construction company and continued teaching shop. Because one of the things that he would tell me is not everybody's going to go to college.
Mhm.
We need to teach these skills.
Train your guys.
And he always talked about apprenticeships and things like that. And that was a lot of the stuff that I talked about on my campaign.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel about alternatives to, a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree, maybe apprenticeships? That was one of the things I talked about a lot in my campaign. Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Another good question.
I agree with you 100%. And please thank your father for me for being.
He's no longer with us, but
But well, I am so very grateful. Imagine all the lives he impacted over those years,
He
right?
did. I heard a
So,
lot of it out in the district when I was running for Congress,
right?
all over the state.
Special.
People would talk about him. So
I love that. I love that. He was so impactful.
Yeah.
And that's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
To your question about apprenticeships, I think apprenticeships are extremely important. My dad served a formal apprenticeship with Boeing as a precision machinist and tool and die maker. He left,
That's my world.
right?
kind of mine too. I oversaw
Yeah.
both tracks. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah. So
We can't
apprentice-
dork out. We can't dork out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
we will. That's just
Yeah.
what we do on this show. Get us started.
give me some math problems. I'll dork out with you.
There we
right?
go.
So yeah, so apprenticeships are extremely important in whatever career field it is. And I think whether it's a formalized apprenticeship program, whether it's one of the amazing programs in the career and technical education programs. I think I froze there.
No, you're back.
I think we need to make sure that our students, when they come out of high school, that they have these experiences through a dual enrollment program, so that they're earning college credit, or while they're in high school, they can earn these really robust career and technical education certifications, so they come out and have a living wage job.
Yeah.
And what we found is students who actually take advantage of that, who enroll in dual enrollment programs while in high school, they have a higher probability that they're going to complete their education and training after high school.
Yeah.
So they'll complete that associate's degree, or whatever their path is.
It's a head start. Kind of.
It is, absolutely. But we have to make sure our students have those opportunities.
Yeah.
And so that means strengthening that pipeline. So another stat for
And
you.
funding.
Absolutely.
Exactly. The
Because
funding.
Arizona has one of the 5th lowest high school graduation rates across the country.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not
77
acceptable.
It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. I feel like we're doing a disservice to our students.
Yeah.
We're not preparing them, and it's not only for our students, but also our industry partners.
Yes.
A large part of what I did the last part of my career is workforce development with our industry partners. There are so many vacancies for those highly skilled technical areas
Yep.
because the pipeline isn't filled.
Yep.
And we need to fill that pipeline with the incumbent workforce, with adults in the field right now, and also with our students. We need to make sure that our students are ready to, join and participate in this, environment, this technology-driven environment.
I mean, because I'm sure there are a lot of kids who, they may think college is not the right route for them. I know
I did for a lot
here
of
in
years.
Georgia, I think Georgia Power has some type of I don't think they call it an apprenticeship program, but a program that takes kids right out of high school and builds them up. I mean, I've seen family members, my cousin's kids who went into things with like Toyota, they had a little bit of college, but they came in, worked, finished school, and moved up in the companies, So
Yeah.
I'd love to see more of that. Like
It's
I said, especially with AI being so big, we talked about that
Yeah.
earlier.
we're going to have to train people to maintain these
Jobs
servers,
of the future.
all these things. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you all said that too, because I was a contractor at Newport News Shipbuilding, but they had an apprentice program there. And so where I was, we had a lot of welders. So we had like 2 or 3 guys that came right out of high school, got accepted into the apprentice program. They taught them how to weld, taught them how to do everything. And they had to sign, I think it was a 4-year to agree to give them 4 years of employment,
Mhm.
after the fact. And then after that, they were free to, they were free to take their certifications, go do what they wanted. But like Marcus said, because the company took care of them and trained them, 80% of the time, the guys were staying in the shipyard, which is why they kept the program, because they were able to maintain so many of the people that they trained.
I love that model. That's very similar to a model I helped develop. After I retired from Glendale Community College, I went to work for an education nonprofit organization called Education Forward Arizona. And we did a partnership with Freeport McMoran. Exactly that. They identified 6 high skilled areas that they had deficiencies in their workforce. And through their partnership, it was more than a scholarship. Pay your tuition. It was up to the cost of attendance, which covers housing and food and books, like all these other amazing things.
Matters.
It matters. And then
Yes.
the student signs a 3-year contract.
Yep.
because now, so it's a win-win. The
You got to give
students,
something to get something.
absolutely, and
Yeah,
they're willing to, yeah, I'll come work for you, and then the company is like, I'll invest in you, and that's what it is. It's
it's a
an
fair
investment.
deal.
Yeah,
It's
Yep.
an investment, and these are good paying jobs.
very.
That's
Yeah,
one of the things.
shipyard. Yeah, the shipyard pays great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but I mean,
Especially coming out of high school or maybe a year out of high school. Come on,
Yeah,
these are great paying jobs. You pay
career.
living
yeah.
wages, you get benefits. I mean, so
So
are there any, or would you be looking forward as the next superintendent to do more coordination with these major companies like the Boeings and Lockheeds, or the military, even out in Arizona? There's a bunch
especially,
of
yeah,
defense
especially,
contractors
yeah,
out there. So
Absolutely. It's going to require, all sectors working together.
mhm.
yes,
How do we, making sure that we're partnering with our unions. We've had wonderful conversations with our unions here in Arizona, our iron workers and carpenters, and they have a need. So how do we make sure students know what the options are?
Absolutely.
So
yes,
partnering with our unions, partnering with our community colleges, partnering with the universities and the industry, so that everybody's talking and having an understanding of what the needs are,
yeah,
and making sure students know the pathway there. So it's all of that for the military as well. I don't know if this is true. I hope it's not. But an advisor told me that some of the military branches are hesitant to come and recruit at some of the high schools because the ASVABs turn out to be so low. So I hope that's not true.
oh, that's true.
And well, and if that is
I'm
the
just telling
case,
you.
then we need to strengthen that pipeline. We need to make sure that, that ASVAB, if that's the determining criteria for options for students, let's make sure they're prepared for
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
I like
You know,
that.
back at least in my day, there was
Mhm,
no prep for the ASVAB. You just went in and took it one day.
mhm.
Yeah,
I did one.
they had the books
Fortunately,
when
I
I
scored
took
high
it.
enough to do whatever I wanted to do in the military, but yeah,
Yeah,
not
I was
everybody
one
does
of
that.
those that I didn't do good in school. I know people that know me now, they're like, "What are you talking about, man?" Like, and I'm like, I wasn't a school person that picked things up from books. But when I went in the military, it was actually my first shop chief that kind of, turned me on to it. He's like, "You realize you're a visual person."
Yeah.
He goes, "Some people have to read a book, for directions." He's like, some people can look at something and just they visualize it. And he's
Mhm.
like, you're that person. He goes, once you do something once, you're good.
Wow.
And because he figured that out, he like everything we're talking about, he really took me under his wing and put me with people that he knew I could watch and learn how to do the job the right way. So having a supervisor, much like a teacher, that was able to see how I operate and how I best learn, and then set me up for success to the point where I was Airman of the Year and Airman below the zone, ranking up early because he was putting me in positions to learn. I had to do the work,
Yeah.
but he was putting me in the positions to accomplish these things. And what I don't like that we were talking about is, when you talk about the revolving door
Mhm.
of substitutes and whatever, that meaningful relationship that I have with some of my teachers and some of my former supervisors in the military, when you take that away, I think that's very detrimental, not just to our education, but just to our growing as people.
Yeah.
Because when you have a what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent,
Mhm.
presence in the classroom,
Mhm.
that that's what got me through some of the years because I had a teacher that cared enough to keep throwing me a life raft and be like, "Come on, like you're okay," because they saw I wasn't stupid.
Yeah.
It was more I just didn't mesh with the way school was structured at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that would be my last question for you is A, do you feel like schools do enough to figure out how kids learn? Or, and if you don't feel that way, what do you think we could do to make school a little more tailored? Like you said, these blanket policies don't always work. And I always felt like the blanket way to teach wasn't always my bag. So, what are your thoughts?
First of all, big thank you to those wonderful educators in your life. You told me, the story of your favorite teacher and the impact that
Yeah.
she had on you. Gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of our students had that
What
type
yeah,
of,
what I had. Yeah,
right?
100%.
I think, when I look back at, and I'm going to turn this just a little bit and answer your
No,
question.
please.
You know, I believe that the mess that we're in Arizona is because this position for the last 50 years has been held by career politicians, with the exception of one real educator,
Seriously?
Kathy Hoffman. Yeah, the former superintendent, Kathy Hoffman. I'm so
Wow.
honored to have her endorsement.
Yes.
All the other ones have been career educators. They don't understand what it's like to be an educator in the classroom. What do our students need? And instead, it's this continuous attack by the Republican led legislature in Arizona to underfund and defund public education, to the point where having, a consistent, stable educator in the classroom is rare almost.
Mm.
Which it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. And teachers, there's so much being put upon them because they don't have a counselor. Arizona has one of the highest student to counselor ratios in the country. It's like
The
900.
teachers need their own counselors.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is, one of the things Tom Horn did when he came into office in January of 2023. He ran on no social emotional learning. He took away those resources from our teachers. And if you if you applied for a grant and you said it was for social emotional learning, you weren't going to get funded. And so this isn't just helping our teachers, bring in resources for our students, but helping our teachers also, with social emotional learning. So to answer your question, there's so much being put on our educators day in and day out.
Mhm.
Classrooms getting larger, even though, schools are closing all around. That means that classrooms are getting bigger. That
Yeah.
means teachers are like, I
More
want to be able,
responsibility.
yes, I want to be
More
able to
burnout.
more hands-on learning, because hands-on learning really makes a difference for students, right?
Yes.
I want to do more hands-on things, but I've got 40 kids in a classroom. I taught a math class in the summer with 45 students.
No space, no resources. Yep.
No space, no resources, no training, no support, no paraprofessional in the classroom. A lot of times our classrooms in Arizona, it's very hot here. The air conditionings are on the fritz. And so you've got, poor learning environments, and our teachers are just overworked and overstressed.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we need to stabilize our teacher workforce.
Yep.
We need to pay them more. We need to attract more professionals in.
Yes.
We need to keep the ones we have. So here's a sad note for you. There are over 50,000 certified teachers in Arizona right now, certified teachers, but they're not
None
in
of them want to. Yeah.
they're not in the classroom.
Wow.
They're stepping away. We need to bring them back.
Yeah.
We need to shine a bright light on this noble profession. Come back and know that you're going to be supported. That when I'm elected superintendent of public instruction, I will make sure that you are supported. I will fight for your resources, because our children matter. Public education matters. It's the promise of public education that leads our students to their dreams, whatever that dream is. It's up to us to help them get there.
I love it.
Absolutely.
You got anything, Marcus?
I just, and this is, I'm not going to ask you to answer this question, but for me, this feels like a continuation of the first Trump administration, with Betsy DeVos coming in and destroying DOE.
Everything.
And I think it was all a part of the playbook. And then you got Project 2025 to come in and finish the job off. And I think we're seeing the effects of that more and more now. It's not good. It's not good. It doesn't bode well for the future of our children. We've got a time where, as Dr. Ruiz pointed out, things are changing.
Yeah.
The jobs of the future aren't the jobs that guys like me were going after in the, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, teens, and so on. I mean, our kids are going to face, a lot more competition in a tougher environment than we had. So,
and it's going to be international. As much as Republicans, don't want this to be an international economy and world, it is.
It has to be. We're
it is, exactly. So
no matter how much you don't want it, we are connected,
and we have to play that game.
And we have to.
But I'm gonna close it with this, Dr. Ruiz. This is why I think you need to win, because you're an educator. And the reason I say that is I'm a soccer coach, and I think that's probably as close as I'm ever going to get to being an educator, and my 13 kids are plenty, trust me. But I love them all to death. I've had the same for pretty much the entire time I'm coaching. The families keep coming back, so I must be doing something right. But I think because I've learned how to, what's the word I'm looking for? I've learned how to look at every kid's personality and learn how to manage them.
Yeah.
Not every kid responds to, criticism well. Some kids need the pat on the back. Some kids need the more stern, this is what I need from you kind of thing. So sorry, I don't know what happened to Marcus, but the reason I think that an educator needs to do is because for 30 plus years, you've learned how to interact with every kid, no matter what their personality was, no matter what their home environment was, no matter what gender they wanted to identify as. You have learned how to deal with every different type of kid. And what that tells me is that when you get into that office, you're going to know how to deal with every type of Republican, every type of independent, and every type of Democrat that you're going to run into. And if we're going to accomplish these things that we talked about today, and like I keep saying in my videos, if we don't have action behind these videos and these podcast episodes, then it really kind of is for nothing. So that's what I want to leave us with, is we need the people that have been managing personalities for decades and are going to be able to do the same thing to accomplish what we need them to accomplish, not just for Arizonans, but for our whole country. Because while they may get educated here in Arizona, eventually they may move to your city and your state. And guess what? You're going to want them to be qualified in what they do. You're going to want them to be a contributor to your local economy. And the best way to do that is to elect somebody like Dr. Ruiz so that we can educate our kids and have them do things like manage AI and stuff like that instead of being grocery baggers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know any other way to put it, guys. And please go research her story and why she wants to do this. Go look at her website, okay? And we're going to put it in the description for the show. But what I want you to do is go look at everybody else running. There's 17 other people, and guess what? None of them hold a candle to this woman. None of them can compare to her resume. Tom Horn can't compare to her resume, and nobody else on the Republican side is going to compare. And if I'm being honest, I don't see a whole lot of people on the Democratic side that are going to jump in this race and be able to go head to head with you, and not just your resume, but honestly, this is the second time I've spoken with you, and yeah, you're going to be tough to beat. So I signed your petition, and I challenge again everybody to go to the website. If you're here in Arizona, please go check out our website. I don't have it pulled up. I'm so sorry. Keith, if you can put it up on the screen for us, please. But definitely go check out our website, sign the petition, because if you don't know how these things work, somebody on the Republican side can come in and just cause a ruckus. So if she only has 100 signatures over her requirement and they have the money and the resources, they can challenge it. And if they get 105 thrown off, she's off the ballot and there's nothing we can do about it. So if you're in Arizona and you want to see her on the ballot and you want to make sure she gets in office, the first thing we got to do, get her on the ballot, make sure you sign those petitions. But as always, these elections, they don't win themselves and they cost money. And like every other Democrat that runs in our state, she's going to be getting all of her stuff printed through union shops. She's going to have the union bug on all her stuff because Democrats support good paying jobs. All right. So
she's already endorsed by
Arizona List. Give them everybody else you're endorsed by.
Iron Workers, former Superintendent Kathy Hoffman, elected officials around Arizona, including our newest Congresswoman, Adelita Grijalva,
Yep.
Mayor Becky Daggett, elected
Senator
school
Elise
board,
Ortiz,
Senator
Nancy Gutierrez. Yep. Yep.
I'm
So
so
she's
honored.
got the backing from the community. So
Gotta
let's bring it home. Let's get these people elected. Dr. Ruiz, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some of your time today. I look forward to bringing you back on after you win. So thank you for everything you do, and thank you for your years of service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to both of you for your years of service and for the time to have me on. Marcus, wonderful to meet you. Ryan.
Well, before you
Yes, ma'am.
leave, I got one more thing to say.
Yes.
I've got a feeling you got some more endorsements coming your way from a state organization called Fields of Change, which is a PAC that I run. So, I think you're a wonderful candidate. You're exactly the kind of candidate that states need. We talk about it all the time. It's where the rubber meets the road in these states. We talk about federal elections all the time. That gets most of the play on air, but it really is in the states that this matters, and what you're doing matters. So
thank you so
thank
much.
you.
I'm
you, ma'am.
honored.
For your service.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Godspeed.
you. Man, that was as good a conversation as I expected. So, I had been telling
Absolutely
our team,
the kind of candidate we need to see more of running at the state level. And that's why we
Yep.
do Fields of Change. And HTL is our federal PAC. Fields of Change is our statewide committee, where we go and help, people who are willing to get on the ground and do the work in the states, because
Yep.
I say it all the time. That's where the rubber meets the road, and it's where things get done.
Yep.
And a lot of times we lose focus of that.
It's the future of our party.
That's it. We've got to start fighting back in these states, especially with education.
Yep.
So,
And Arizona, 2nd congressional district, I would love to see a much stronger candidate in that district. So if there's anybody in there that wants to run, let me know. I might bring you on the show. But no, man, I'm glad you said that, because I think it's important to remind folks, when you watch us on With All Due Respect, you're not just watching another podcast. You're watching two people that are putting their money where their mouth is. He's running PACs. We're dedicating our life to this. So when you support us, you're not just supporting a couple of podcasters. You're supporting people that are actually doing the work behind closed doors as well, and our team as well. Bringing these candidates on, going through and kind of vetting them, making sure they kind of fit our agenda, and we talk a lot about independence and who they are going to caucus with and why that matters. So that's stuff we all do here. That's why we have the team we do for this show. So that's what you're getting for your money and your time that you spend watching us and supporting us. So thank you as always. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because we have more people coming on. We got Amy McGrath next week, correct?
Amy McGrath next week. Yes.
So we got more people coming, folks. Hit that subscribe button, because
support our candidates. I mean, they could use $1, $5, $10.
All matters, man. The dollars add up
in these races.
I know people are like, oh, all I got's $2. Send it. If that's all you got, send it.
You've got $2 to spare.
Like $2 is $2.
The campaign.
I know people think it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, as two people who've run campaigns and run for office, every dollar matters and is appreciated. I always appreciated every dollar I got. You don't take that for granted. At least most people don't take that for granted when you're running for office. Somebody gives you their time, volunteering, and they give you their hard-earned money. You take that seriously.
It's
huge.
Huge.
Yeah, for sure.
But
The
Supreme Court said money is speech, so you're speaking your mind when you support that candidate or that.
I'm sorry. Could you tell them again? I feel like I might have talked over you a little bit. Can you tell them that one more time?
Hey, the Supreme Court said that money is speech. So when you give your $1, $2, $5, $10, whatever have you, you're speaking your mind
with your pocketbook, and it's legal. So,
it's legal.
But with that, let's talk real quick about the Grammys, because
I didn't watch them, but I got all the highlights.
That's all you needed, brother. But no, look, it was a good event in terms of people using their platforms. I did enjoy seeing people take the time. It could have been all about them, and they made it about others. So whether you agreed with the message or not, I always applaud that, because it takes some selfless.
Yeah, and I thought it was stupid, but hey, that's
and that's fine. But for me, there were some opportunities lost, and what I don't like is I don't like people bullshitting me. And I felt like people like Jelly Roll were bullshitting me. You can't go rub elbows with Trump at UFC, fights, and go testify in front of Congress and then play stupid.
Say
you don't understand politics and the power that it has. And then to continue after your speech, and then to go, oh, I'm just stupid, I'm just aloof. You just watched all of your contemporaries stand on a stage and tell you exactly what the hell is going on right now, and then you still decided to play stupid. So you don't have to use that platform for that, but if you're going to use it to praise Jesus and say his name over 12 times in a span of 62 seconds, then maybe support people that don't abuse children. Just a thought. Because if you can't do that, you aren't any kind of Christian that I want to hang around.
And I'm gonna go a different direction because I'm a Christian. I'm gonna give him a little grace. I mean, I saw it. It felt like kind of
pushed, forced.
Force is not really the word
rehearsed.
I'm looking for. It's kind of like you're. It's almost like you were playing both sides of the fence.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Side.
That's my issue. 100%.
And this is where the grace comes in. If you're not really up on the issues, having a platform like yours, you owe it to the people that buy your albums. The Christians that you say you represent. You have a hell of a story. Jelly Roll has a hell of a story. A hell of a comeback.
Not taking away from that.
See that in this country. Get up on politics. Yeah, you have to. You have to know what's going on in your world.
But again, dude, can he claim ignorance though when he's hanging around all these Republicans?
Like I said, I'm going to give him some grace, and I see that. Yeah, going on tour with Kid Rock.
That was the other thing
I would do. But hey, I'm going to give you that grace.
Yeah, he didn't want to mess up.
No matter what side you land on, let's just put that out there. But
and I know that you and I know that I go a little more extreme on this, but my view is this: if in this moment in time, regardless of your platform, your financial standing, or your political affiliation, if you can't stand up publicly and simply say the government murdering American citizens in the street
is wrong,
is not acceptable. Yeah. If you can't say that one thing, and your answer is to claim ignorance, everybody knows. There isn't a place on the fucking planet that doesn't know that ICE is killing Americans. Most people know their names off the top of their head. There's no way Jelly Roll does not know what's going on. He's picking and choosing, and he's not the only one. I'm picking on him. He's not the only one. But these people are picking and choosing what they want to be upset about or what they want to support. And that's not Christianity to me. See, because what I've realized is Donald Trump and a lot of these Republicans, the ones in the Epstein files, they're the same people that would have nailed Jesus to the cross themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
they would have turned him over to the government.
He wasn't white. He didn't speak English. What do you think they would have done to him?
They would have turned him over.
They didn't have these laws that are stopping them from, murdering them at the border. They didn't have those back then.
No.
These people would not have supported Jesus because he wasn't white and he didn't speak English. That's a fact.
And I looked at all, like I told you, I looked at all that backlash that came out of, it was Billie Eilish's thing that she said, and I saw her speech. I was like, okay, what she's talking about is basic empathy. At least that's the way I took it.
That's the way I took it.
You have no empathy. I mean, now we're telling people to shut up and sing. You can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. Shut up and dribble. And again, so many times it's hypocrisy that bothers me the most. Like, if you're evil, just be evil. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Stephen Miller's evil, and he lives it. So it's like I at least respect the fact that you can always depend on Stephen to be an evil white nationalist. That's never going to change. But there's so many people out there that, like you said, play both sides. And what's upsetting me
this time,
that's it. Like, sometimes, like, I don't hate on people not messing up their money. Like, I get not messing up your money. But
don't say anything.
Don't say anything then. Exactly. But when you start tap dancing, when you start tap dancing, that's different.
Plenty of artists, plenty of athletes say, okay, I won't get involved. Doesn't mean they don't have an opinion.
Yep.
When I was in the military or worked for the government, I didn't say anything.
You couldn't.
I couldn't, but it didn't mean I didn't have an opinion.
Yep.
So I get it.
I do too. Like, I'm not expecting people to starve. I'm not expecting them to starve their kids. But
But
I
you can't
think
feign
it's,
ignorance.
yeah, but at the same time, if we were able to organize at a massive scale, we wouldn't starve because they wouldn't last long. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. Like, that's the problem. The real problem is that they have managed to divide us and convince you and me that we're on different sides, when
That's
in
been the
reality,
playbook
we
since
aren't.
forever.
We're all Americans, and guess what? 99% of us are not billionaires and millionaires, which means most of us live the same life. Most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. We're counting dollars when we go to the grocery store because everything's gone up 30%. Like,
You
we
can't
are
pretend that's
all
not
dealing with
happening.
these same things, and we're taking orders from people who haven't been in a grocery store to buy their own food in 20 years. They don't know what bread and eggs cost. Like, let's get real. I'm here for you, and if you're here for me, these people won't last. It
What
really
comes
is
after?
that simple.
What comes after? We decide.
Yep.
We decide.
Speaking
Now,
of,
they're trying to weight the scale in their favor.
yes,
I mean,
100%.
I'm looking at what's going on right here in Georgia when they come in and raid a warehouse and take ballots. And then you've got, on top of that, to add insult to injury, you've got Donald Trump saying things like, maybe the federal government should take over
Elections.
States are representatives of the federal government when it comes to elections. The Constitution that I swore an oath to support and defend may have something different to say about
May
that.
have some issues with that.
May have a few issues with that. And I don't care how activist the Supreme Court is, that shit isn't black and white. It's clear as day.
Yeah.
You can't interpret it any other way.
Oh, they're trying.
States control elections. They don't just administer them. They're not just backing up the federal government. They run elections.
Yeah.
It's in the Constitution.
That's a dictator move, per usual. But again, I always, every time I hear this is what pops into my head. Oh, but we kicked women's rights, and control over their bodies back to the states because of states' rights, right? That was their whole argument. It belongs in the states. But elections don't belong in the states?
How are you going to spend that one?
I'm sure they'll try, but I've tried coming up with an argument against my own argument, and I haven't been able to figure it out yet. So let me know, guys. But you said something about our oath, and I want to talk about Mark Kelly real quick, because I think what's happening with him matters. Because we also had Don Lemon get arrested since our last show. So, if they come banging on your door, Marcus, be careful. Because, us using our First Amendment rights and stuff apparently could get us killed.
Apparently now? I don't know.
Get us arrested.
Yeah.
But I might be okay, though, because I'm not black. They only happen to pick up black journalists for some reason. I wonder why. And you know what else I find interesting is they pick these people up for showing up to a church to protest and record, letting everybody know that one of the people running the church is head of ICE. But judges are allowing ICE to show up to churches to arrest whoever they want.
Make it make sense. And then a journalist reporting on it gets arrested. A journalist and his producer.
Germany, 1939. Go read up on it.
Man, yeah, you said it. I just, and I wouldn't say I'm a history buff, but I like
learn from history.
I like to learn from it. So I study history.
Yeah.
Not because
I didn't want to repeat it. Yeah.
But because I want to know. So I just recently, maybe a week or so ago, I just went back and I looked at the entire history from going back to the Weimar Republic to Hitler's rise to power, all the way up to the beer hall push, him taking over as chancellor and consolidating power in Germany, all the way through World War II. And I look at those, I look at the similarities. History doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. I looked at those similarities, and it's astonishing. I invited anybody to go back and just start with the Weimar Republic. Start with World War One. What happened after World War One?
You can't deny
the economy went to crap, and this guy Hitler comes in.
Yep.
Legally at first,
and then slowly
things changed.
And we're seeing that.
We're seeing it now in real time.
Like, let's be honest. Before we move on from this, we've watched 3 that I know of off the top of my head, Americans be killed by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ICE is a federal agency. So if they've been deputized or whatever you call it by the federal government, they were killed by the federal government.
And look at that, how the brown shirts. I think there's a documentary on Netflix that talks about it. Look at how the brown shirts behaved when, the Nazi party was just a party,
Yep.
That didn't have a whole lot of power in the German parliament. Had barely, 3% of the parliament.
And you know what they would do?
And then they grew to 18%, and then they took over and blocked everybody out.
Yep.
No other party could run.
You know the type of things that they would do too? When information like, say, a list of child predators came out, they would ignore it. And not only that, they would blame the other side for misinterpreting what they read or saw or heard.
They would say what truth was.
Exactly. So, we're right there.
Mm-hmm.
The Department of Justice had to take down several thousand documents that they released, though, because the website contained files on people that may have inadvertently, let me rephrase this. They took the files down that may have inadvertently included victim identifying information due to various factors, including technical or human error.
It did.
So what I took from that sentence was they spent so much time redacting Donald Trump's name that they forgot to protect the actual victims.
The victims. Yeah, and they successfully sued to get that taken down. They sued.
So,
they didn't just take it down. They sued. They were ordered.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Judge.
I mean, if the victims don't want to be, they have every right to do that.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it sucks that they even had to. That I feel like that really probably is something that they should have either blacked out or at least contacted them and been like, hey, we're going to release these. Are you okay with it?
No.
I don't know. But look, this information coming out is terrible. I don't know how anybody could excuse it all. Like, you may be able to excuse a few things here and there, but there's so much to pick from that. The fact that he's still sitting in the White House right now, as I talk into this microphone, is insane. Like, anybody else would be removed. Like, if that was Biden, Obama, Clinton, like, they got Clinton for a blowjob. Like, this dude might have killed children.
The lawlessness, but he's a 34-time convicted felon. So, I mean, what did we expect? Did we expect anything different?
I guess we shouldn't have. Speaking of felons and frauds, another thing that he's doing with our tax dollars right now, which is clearly just a great use of money, is he's going to renovate the Kennedy Center. Now,
closing it down for 2 years.
Now, I don't know. I know,
unbeknownst to the people that work there.
Well, that's a great point that I actually didn't post or think about. That too. When I heard it, here's what I first thought. That's oddly close to the end of his term. He's shutting it down because everybody's pulling out, and whatever they do put on, whatever events they do there, have such poor attendance that it's embarrassing. So instead of allowing them to keep embarrassing him, he's just shutting it down. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did not see that coming. I don't know about you.
I didn't see it coming, but neither did the employees of the Kennedy Center. So.
Yeah, that part's not funny. That's not funny. But not only the employees, but I have an old friend who has played for the Baltimore Symphony, and they did a lot of events there. Yeah. So like you said, when they cancel an event there, that's money out of all of those musicians' pockets.
Absolutely.
So, again, everything that this administration does affects everything. It's affecting people's pocketbooks. It's affecting their investments. It's affecting their children's education. That's why anybody that says, "Oh, I don't do politics," just call them a name and keep moving.
It doesn't
You can't
mean you
not
won't
be
be
engaged in
affected by
politics.
politics. When I hear that, I tell people, it doesn't mean politics doesn't affect you.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
You may not be into it, but it's into you.
Don't do politics. Sooner or later, politics is going to do you.
Yep. And
pay attention.
I also want to point out that this is in addition to the East Wing that he's bulldozed for his ballroom. They've already, redone the Rose Garden, turned it into a marble parking lot. Like and he wants to build, what is it? What do they call it?
Arch in the world.
Yeah, the arch.
I guess he wants an Arc de Triomphe in Washington, D.C. and call it Arc de Trump, I guess. I don't know what the hell's going on here with this guy, but sorry.
Help me, Marcus. I don't know how much more. Nationalized elections, building monuments to himself, putting his own name on buildings.
Yeah.
Oh man, and this is in addition to all the international things that he's doing. Like, we are a laughing stock on the international stage. It's infuriating. Like, it feels like decades of operations and relationship building has just all been tossed out the window.
Look, someone who's been to 40 different countries in the world, just walking around Europe, spent a lot of time in Europe, many different countries in Europe, and being an American, and this is back in the 90s and early 2000s, that came with a little bit of respect. People wanted to talk with you, and they wanted to know, and it had nothing to do with politics. They never wanted to talk about that stuff. But he's diminished us, and for those of you who travel abroad, it ain't the same anymore.
No.
If you can compare it to the 90s and early 2000s, Americans are being like, what the hell's going on with you guys over there? That's what they're getting when they travel abroad.
Yeah. You guys are
I guarantee you, people outside of this country, they do politics. They do American politics.
Yeah.
They know American politics better than most Americans.
Especially when we start seizing oil tankers.
Yes.
But I wanted to end today on a couple of things. I wanted to talk real quick about measles. Oh, yeah. We had Dr. Terry Ruiz on the show today. As an educator, I remember having to submit shot records to show that you were vaccinated to go to school. Mm-hmm. Apparently, because of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s stellar intelligence and education levels,
conspiracy
measles have now made a comeback.
Yeah.
Yay.
You're back.
I told you so. We warned you.
Yeah.
This is why you don't follow stupid people. This is why you don't elect a dude that had a brain worm that probably died of starvation in 1987.
It's not only us that were warning people about him. It was his own family warning.
That's true.
The American public about him. Saying, hey, when someone's family says,
no boy, no.
Listen to this guy. You might not want to listen to Uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah, he's the crazy uncle.
Listen.
Yeah. I don't know. When he was running for president, I just remember hearing his voice for the first time and thinking to myself, I'm going to have to listen to that for a whole State of the Union? Union's great today. No, I'm good. But to cap off, because we had an educator, because we're talking about school superintendents, I think it's worth noting, and I think you brought it up a little bit ago, but the Trump administration is attempting to fire pretty much the entire Department of Education. And that would cost American taxpayers another $28 million.
I mean, they've already got vouchers now. That was one of their big things. They got that. Now let's just go ahead and dismantle the whole thing. That was always the goal. That was the goal as far back as, Betsy DeVos. That was.
Yeah.
That's what she was brought in to do. And now it's
Yeah.
what, Onion Man? Is that her name?
I don't know, man. But like you said, we can make these videos, and I love doing this podcast. But the reason I like doing it so much is because we do get to bring these people on that are running for office, that are in the streets doing the work, that do have the actual experience that is required to do the job that they're running for. Like, it's crazy to me that a school superintendent like would win an election when they aren't a teacher or weren't like didn't have anything to do with the school, running a school in any way.
What it takes.
Yeah, like,
Data.
oh, because you're a lawyer? Like, no, teachers need to be in there because they're the ones that know the inner workings and everything that's wrong that's happening. So
Someone
again,
like Dr. Ruiz, who's come up through the system,
yep,
30 plus years experience. Who better?
Yep.
Come on.
Her family's been here for 3 decades, like she's got all the
3
degrees
generations.
required. Yeah, man. So these are the elections that matter. Make sure you go in the comments section, go visit her website, send her a few bucks. And if you're in Arizona like myself, please go sign her petition. We want her to have so many signatures that they don't even bother trying to challenge her. Yeah, you got anything else, brother?
I think we've touched it all. We didn't touch everything.
we
There's
tried.
So much going on. It's kind of like drinking through a fire hose every week, but
we're doing,
we
but again, we're doing the important part. We're bringing the people that are going to turn the fire hose off. And that's what we need. So with that, as always, much love, keep fighting, but most importantly, with everything going on, stay safe out there.
Godspeed, everybody.